Hey guys, this is Battleground Investor. In 20 minutes, the Senate is going to take a final vote on the infrastructure bill, and I believe there's enough votes for it to pass. This is a bipartisan bill. It's expected that it's going to pass the Senate with both Republican support and Democratic support, as opposed to the $3.5 trillion social bill that the Democrats are going to be taking up for debate into the rest of the fall. So what benefits can we have as investors from the bill? I wanted to break that down, given that now it's quite late to be buying some of the infrastructure play names to actually play this bill. Most of those stocks had ran up in February, March, and April, definitely by May. However, some had peaked, some have came down, so maybe it's a good time to start looking at them again. Depending on what you have in your portfolio, etc., that's up to you. I'm not your personal financial advisor. I don't know your financial details. I can't help you. I'm not a licensed broker or a financial advisor in any form. So I really can't help you with your specific situation. But some of the things I'm looking at, I will be looking into different aspects of the bill. So to jump into that, let me share my screen real quick. And what we can see is that as part of the bill, we're going to have, let's find the itemized list. Oh, it's nicely itemized here then by Bing. Thank you very much, Bing. Anyway, so $110 billion for roads, bridges, and major projects, 73 billion for power and grid projects, 66 billion for passenger and freight rail, 65 billion for broadband, 55 for water infrastructure, 39.2 for public transit, 25 for airports, 17 for ports and waterways, 15 for lower emission buses and ferries, 11 for highway and pedestrians, 47.2 billion for resilience, 7.5 for electric vehicle infrastructure, and 21 billion for addressing legacy pollution, reclaiming abandoned mines, and plugging orphan wells. So what jumps out to me right away is in terms of lower emission buses and ferries, Arrival. Let's go take a look at that stock. Arrival clearly off its high of around $25 earlier in June, now only at $13.55. So clearly had that bump from the infrastructure bill just recently, because what Arrival does is they sell buses. They have buses as well as this one. Arrival. Let's see. They sell commercial vans, buses, etc. Let's see some of the products here. This is the bus that they have, still concept phase, but in terms of industrial design and engineering, I've heard very good things about them. So this is one clear beneficiary. They have a factory opening up in North Carolina. So that's probably one that would be a beneficiary of that. So Arrival, ticker symbol ARVL. The other main beneficiary would be from roads and bridges and major projects is Caterpillar. That's definitely off as well from its highs. The reason that's off, so I guess important to know why the reasons this is off is because it's a SPAC, and with a SPAC, they normally have these liabilities in the forms of warrants that convert into equity. So a lot of people will buy in puts to make sure that they hedge the downside, as well as the fact that people will sell short and sell out of something that's going to get diluted. Another reason is that with the SPACs, a lot of them had wild projections as to future earnings, etc. I'm not saying this is the bottom. You saw it went down to 1154. It could go down lower. I'm not giving you financial advice to buy or not to buy, just some stocks that might be of value over the long term. That might be something that you might want to buy. You'll make the final decisions. That's for all of the stocks really, in general. But Caterpillar, why it's down from the high of 246 to today, it's about 212. Its lowest period was somewhere around 199. You see, I've already got some buy limit orders here, expecting it, hoping it that was going to breach this longer-term trend line that I had for it. It didn't, but in any case, it still might. Why it's down from 246 went down primarily because, again, a lot of things overvalued. The concern that there was GDP growth was not as high as people expected, with the yield curve going up, the yields going up on the 10-year Treasury bond. That caused a lot of consternation and indigestion in markets that maybe we don't have the kind of growth. GDP in the most recent report had fallen from 8% to 6% annualized in the previous quarter, so that made a lot of people concerned as well. But in any case, that's kind of went off on its high from 246 back in June down to around 212 now, and bouncing between this 212 and 203 range. And another concern recently why it's held down is that on its June 30th report around here, inflation fears was guided by the management that they would have reduced margins in the second half of the year. So that's something that we have to be concerned a little bit about. But again, it should be, now that it's 20% off its high, it should be something that I would look at, as opposed to something that is not yet corrected fully. So this is definitely a portion, or maybe to some people, maybe a good deal. That's Caterpillar would benefit from, obviously, roads, bridges, and major projects. Power and grid projects would obviously benefit General Electric. They have a lot of power elements to their business, and that's about 105 currently, from its peak at 115 earlier in May. And I'm just looking at the peaks within 180-day range. So actually, there was an earlier peak, 116, right when it ran up initially, and then it dumped really quickly. So you can see how fast these things could dump. This ran up nearly the same and then dumped again. So just be aware that there might be a run up. It might dump again. That's just how the nature of the stock market is. But in terms of benefiting from a bill with over $1 trillion of spending, in this case, $73 billion, that could be another stock that has corrected. And, obviously the stock market is a future discounting machine, that, people ran it up pretty early, and then some of the long-term investors are still in it. Another one, for $65 billion in broadband, I don't think that's gonna, you could look at Comcast, and indirectly, Viacom and some of the, Discovery and other stocks that might benefit from enhanced broadband, and Netflix as well, because more people would be able to access that. But that's fairly well penetrated. I think really the main beneficiary here is going to be Starlink and SpaceX, but that's a private company, so that is not something that normal people can access in private markets, including myself. So another one, we talked about public transport and how that's going to benefit Arrival, but also how lower emission buses, specifically for companies like Arrival. Airports indirectly. I don't have one on the top of my mind that runs and owns airports, but it would indirectly help, like Delta and stuff like that. I wouldn't really be looking at those companies, though. They have a huge amount of debt that is of great concern to me, and I just something that I've stayed away from them. You might see a pop, though. In any case, some other ones that could really be of benefit: $7.5 billion. That's obviously GM. Ford, Tesla, and Fisker, all of the electric vehicle companies. But really, it's going to be for the companies that directly provide the infrastructure. So ChargePoint is a good example. But Tesla also provides its own infrastructure, so that's another example. But indirectly, the other EVs that would be, reliant on that it would be a good example. And you see how it ran up really heavy just recently to like 36. It's down to 25 today. In the past, let's see, as high as 50. So wow, that's like this is at 50% discount already today. Will it go higher? Will it not? I mean, most of this stuff again is already baked into the stock market. These things, like you see, ran up with the expectation of the bill and with the expectation of the EV revolution that it's mainly priced in, I think. But it's another thing for somebody who's really bullish on the stock. They may want to buy into this, expecting benefits from the infrastructure bill. I mean, they clearly have an entire section just for that at $7.5 billion. So ChargePoint, some of its competitors are going to be similarly benefited from that. Some others, I would say, Visa, General, $1 trillion going into the economy is going to end up getting into, and it's, buy America, right? So it's going to end up going into American companies, hiring American labor. I think some statistics show that 95%, at least what the administration is saying, is going to be, going to American jobs. And so in that sense, increased consumer spending as people have more money to spend. And I would be looking at Visa. That's most recently just came off its recent high at 252. This channel is a long-term channel, and I'd like to show you this company over the long term, like since its inception, and you can see that that basically we have excuse all this information down here, but this is like 15 years ago, or excuse me, 25 years ago, or 2019, and then this is 2015. And you can see how it's been growing at a steady pace all the way up to the right. And only very recently has been kind of a little bit under, but I think it's going to be breaking back into this long-term channel. And let me just draw that in a little bit better. This long-term channel has really, it's just underperformed the long-term channel, primarily because of the months proceeding after the COVID crash in March. So I think that it's just been underperforming because of the COVID crash. Now that we're reopening, it's coming back into this channel. I'm looking to buy into it. I wish I kept it earlier. I didn't. My mistake. This thing is a wonderful long-term holding. I shouldn't have sold this. So I'm looking to get back into it. As you can see, my limit orders. I'm hoping there's going to be a delta dip, and there's a 20% correction where I'll be loading the boat on Visa for myself. But in any case, that is again something that it's going to benefit from the massive stimulus that's coming about. Right now it's currently at 236. I'm loving that it's going down for myself. Sorry if you're already a stockholder, but don't worry, it's only temporary. This thing just goes right to the right, upper right. It's an amazing. So hopefully this is helpful. Maybe there are other companies, put them in the comments and share this with others that might find this beneficial. All of these companies are off their peaks for a reason. They can keep going down, so invest the amount of money you're willing to lose. Some of them are really long-term stalwarts like Visa, with the case of like companies like Ford and GM and Tesla, which I didn't show. Let me just show like Tesla or GM first. It's off from its 64 high down to its current 53.97, and Ford, mainly because they ran up with the expectation that people were going to give this a multiple closer to Tesla. But nobody likes an imitation. Nobody wants a fake. And so people haven't bought into GM and Ford being the next Teslas for various reasons, be it that, they don't believe in the the capability of the companies to actually execute on software, on the driverless driving systems. There's the advantages of data with Tesla, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I could do another video on that. I'd love to, but let me know in the comments if that's of interest to you. But yeah, and Tesla, excuse me, Tesla is, yeah, forget all these lines, but basically Tesla has just really done very poorly since the start of this year. I think the overall percentage gain has been like 1%. And you see in the last 180 days, the high was 900, and it's just been going down. This long-term trend, this recent trend from 900 down to here, it touched, came back, broke over it. So I think it's done. This long-term channel trend here has been its growth since the pandemic ended. Before it had this more intermediate trend of just exploding higher to 900. So excuse all the lines, but I think it's coming back into these two channels, and hence why it's being held up. I think this is a company that is consolidating. It's going to take time, but I think for myself personally, as a owner of Tesla stock, that it's going to continue to consolidate. You're going to see volatility. It may not stay in this upward channel between these two here, but if it does, it's gonna just grind out into that valuation, because it's trading at an enormous valuation and way high premium versus GM and Ford. But again, nobody likes the fakes, and so you know, excuse me if you love Ford and GM. I love the companies. I own a GM car. I don't own a Tesla. It's something that I want to own once the batteries get even better. But I understand the story. I understand the stock. I understand the potential for this. And so I'm an owner. I've owned it. I've been in and out of it different times. I got back in it once it corrected to 600. My cost basis is like 620, 66 something. It's like 667. Yeah, I nearly nailed it at 666. I was kind of looking at that number, but no. Reality is that I think it could go down 420 in an extreme scenario, but let's hope that it goes up, because I've got quite a bit of Tesla stock. Anyway, these are some of the things that I think I'm looking at again today as the bill is passing. I've nibbled a little bit on Plug Power. I haven't mentioned that there's a hydrogen element to this in the bill. So it's something to benefit from if there's enough of a correction already into it that it's not fully baked back into the price over the long term. All right, I hope this helps. Have a great day, and hit like and subscribe. If this is a video you want to share, please do. And let me know of any other companies you think I could benefit from by looking at with the infrastructure bill. All right, have a great day.